World History, Presentation 1, Needs of Modernization for the New Republic. By the 19th century, the production and organization of physical space was a crucial problem in Ecuador. The new republican independence from Spain became in new conceptions and new state power, needing new means of government and his territory. The population became to feel themselves different as a consequence of changes. There were diverse social groups with the new ideas coming from Europe, which concerned the needs of progress, modernization demanding new roads, railways, postal services, sewage, lighting, and modern scientific institutions. Consequences of the advancement arising from the changes in the ways that space would be used. The production and organization of physical space felt as a crucial problem. By the 1870, Ecuador presidents called a group of Europeans who came to his request to accomplish specifically orders to place scientific institutions, such as a polytechnic college to teach the practical application of scientific methods, a road and a bridge construction, a meteorological observatory, and a botanical garden. These actions started the institutional legitimization of natural and applied sciences in Ecuador, but not its acceptance in practical affairs. The strategy served to give legitimacy to the new conceptions of space engaged and the construction of national identity. The settlement of progress was universally assumed by most of the travelers, regardless of nationality, gender, or profession. Their assessments of Ecuador's need of modernization and progress are evident throughout the accounts, and some Europeans were directly even involved in a road and rail construction. The problem of cultural power. During this course of actions, it is necessary to recognize that the process of cultural colonialism involved conflicting interests and divisions between collectivities. Both highland Ecuadorian and European travelers were complex and internally differentiated, gifted with their own histories, even though Europeans could be expected to share cultural understandings and Ecuadorians likewise. The trial of successful cultural colonialism depended on the level of which people accepted European science and acted out in its practice. So, the interaction between these collectivities in their conciliation of knowledge and power was the report to the process of cultural colonialism. A common, if not general, consensus regarding the legitimacy of scientist ideas and practices would contribute to a hegemonic, common sense vision of the social world described like a such kind of this control. Quito University versus European sciences or cultural colonialism and new languages of power. As registered in 19th century in Ecuador was not the first one to receive science as a form of disciplinary knowledge by Europeans since their work started in the 18th century by the French Scientific Commission in 1736 and by Jesuit scholars, although they were expelled in 1765-67 and again in 1852. Even though particular members of the educated elite were passionately interested in promoting the sciences, there was little opportunity to develop these interests at the beginning of the century. At this point, it's important to show the description of Stevenson, where he indicates that university education in Quito around 1810, when the only science even theoretically available was taught, was medicine. He states that there were only 2 professorships for theology, 2 for canons, 2 for jurisprudence, and 1 for arts. There is 1 also for medicine, but no professor. For this reason, even highly educated people in Ecuador were often unfamiliar with scientific methods unless they had been educated in Europe. Some issues about Quito University. William Jameson, a British naturalist living in Quito, was hired at the time by the Botanical Society of London to collect plant specimens. He decided to live in Ecuador and turned it into an important contact for the scientists that visited the city. He obtained a teaching position at Quito University, date unknown, but complained about its system of education in a manuscript presented to the Royal Geographical Society in 1861. Education was never been patronized by government or members of Congress, who yearly assemble in the capital, for which reason the system at present pursued must be considered objectionable, inasmuch as attention is principally devoted to the study of law, medicine, and theology, to the neglect of practical science, Jameson said. A president concerned about education advancement in Quito University. At 1861, after a year of civil wars, Gabriel García Moreno became the president of the Republic. A French diplomatic reports describing him as a kind of phenomenon in his country. Highly educated at a young age, speaks 6 languages, studied law, and they saw mathematics and chemistry, very enthusiastic to develop the sciences and anything that will raise the level of education in Ecuador. García Moreno's personality was kind of puzzled conjecture in the French diplomatic reports during 1860s and continues until today. He was a passionate Roman Catholic, educated in Paris, committed to the economic and intellectual progress for Ecuador, and an autocrat who passed laws to centralize the power of the state shortly after he had attempted to annex Ecuador as a protectorate of France, following the model of Canada and the Great Britain. A president's concern about education advancement in university. Fabre, who was French minister, pondered the possibility of annexation with García Moreno, proposed in terms that support Foucault's general outline of disciplinary power. What Ecuador needed, continued the diplomat in his writing, was order, government control of education, health, sanitation, and rules for behavior throughout the institutions of enlightenment and progress. His worry was the continued existence of anarchical elements in Ecuador, which he considered even to be evident amongst the large landowners. Tranquility rather, another drink, and amiable condescension which American citizens bestowed on the European subject. New languages of power. The University of Quito was closed in 1869 for imperfect teaching, and this issue pointed the start of a new legitimation of science in Ecuador. It was reopened in 1870 with a few faculty of modern medicine and with the addition of the Escuela Politécnica, which represented a completely new faculty to teach mathematics, physics, chemistry, and natural sciences. Botany, zoology, geology, and mathematics were to be applied to progress in Ecuador. Knowledge of nature would be the basis on which to open new roads, and new roads would increase internal and international markets. Physics and engineering will contribute to the construction of machines needed to begin modern progress. French specialists, Gay-Raud and Domecq, were contracted from France in 1873 to teach surgery, anatomy, and obstetrics in the Faculty of Medicine. Gay-Raud commented in his account that I had only to formulate my wishes in order to see them realized to the extent permitted by the Republic's financial limits. President Garcia Moreno also arranged for a group of European Jesus scientists to come to Quito and fill the teaching positions at the Escuela Politécnica. Power through knowledge. With these strategies, this move may have been a calculated hegemonic control according to President Garcia Moreno's ideas, because this particular step seems to incorporate the most potential power discourses in Ecuador at the time within one social group, and European scientific progress would be institutionalized by the state throughout the teachings of Jesus Christ. European Jesus will arrive in 1870 to teach at the Polytechnic. The most influential names were Johannes B. Menten, Theodore Wolff, and Luis Odiro. These men were asked to provide models of Garcia Moreno's vision for a new social and intellectual order in Ecuador. These European Jesus scientists were given considerable symbolic power to impose their particular vision of the world in Quito. Menten was the director of astronomy, geodesics, and hydrotechnics at the Escuela Politécnica, director of public works, and director of the new observatory to be built in the Alameda Park of Quito. Joseph Colbert remained in Ecuador for 5 years, teaching physics, mathematics, mechanics, engineering, and architecture. Luis Odiro was Italian and taught botany and the development of agriculture at the Polytechnic, and also built a botanical garden in the Alameda. He never left Ecuador. Theodore Wolff came from Germany to Quito. He was hired to teach geology, mineralogy, mining, and language at the Polytechnic. He became a Jesus Priest in the 1868, but left the calling in 1874, when restrictions were put on his teaching Darwin's evolutionary theory. He left the Escuela Politécnica and became the state geologist, staying in Ecuador for more than 20 years, and as an honorary citizen, produced a map of Ecuador and a book, Geografía y Geología del Ecuador, which are still respected today, and provided also technical direction for the installation of potable water and public lighting in Guayaquil. Epilogue and conclusions. But all this apparent progress could not be concluded because Garcia Moreno was assassinated and Jesuits were asked to leave the country. After that, the liberalism and conservative parties were in conflict, and this escalated in a crisis. Additionally, church and government were mutual attacks, and one tried to blame the other of a number of issues that illegitimate their acting. Another government came, with different ways of thinking and with serious accusations, plus the eruption of Cotopaxi volcano, which caused serious loss. Making a historical analysis of this peculiar incident in Quito, it revealed that an undeniable application of universally accepted Roman Catholic principles and ideals did not in fact exist. The illuminating power of Roman Catholicism was no longer invisible and unremarked, and the influence of a world view based on Roman Catholic principles have been finally opened for debate by these new discourses of liberalism and science here in Ecuador. Additionally, there were 3 other influential alternatives that surfaced publicly over the next few days. The politics of Ecuadorian liberals, who were essentially opposed to the power of the clergy and of the high landowning class. The politics of Ecuadorian conservatives, who were opposed to Ventimiglia, president, and his government, and the European discourse of natural science and physical law. Historically, liberal, conservative, and scientific discourses cannot ignore lay claim to coherence and universality than Roman Catholicism, but that is precisely the claim which was made by persons who adopted these systems of theoretical ideas as languages to be used in the effort for gaining power. In practice, the fact is that For discourses were expressed in several ways and by different groups to interpret the events for their own political advantage, without taking in consideration the opinions of the ones who did not receive any education and, for this reason, were dominated by those powers. Thank you.